Welcome everybody to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and I am joined for this hub episode by our good friends Duck and Jess, aka Beanie Duck. And you have found part 5 and the final part of our Universal series for now. There will be future Universal episodes, of course, but the final part of this series of Is Universal Right for Me? And today we are going to be talking about food at Universal. So that was what we kind of felt like was the final topic we needed to really cover to give everybody an overview, although we kind of went a little bit more in depth than just an overview on this series. But this is the final topic that we felt like would be helpful if you are trying to make the decision if Universal is right for you. So that is the plan for today. Duck and Jess, how are we doing on this lovely, lovely day today?
Pretty
Doing
good.
great.
Very excited to talk about food. It's one of my favorite topics.
I love it. Yes. Duck is a connoisseur of all types of food and snacks and beverages and park offerings. So I'm sure they will have some good insight for us on this episode. Do keep in mind that to kind of help streamline the food episode and information, we are really going to only highlight a few places at each park. It would be 10 hours if we were here and talking about every single food offering and what they had and what was good for kids and what wasn't. We're not getting into all of that. So we're sticking around 3, 4 maybe per area for each Universal Park. And then we're also going to talk about City Walk a little bit too, because I feel like they have so many food options there. And it's right outside 2 of the parks. We got to make sure that we cover that as well. So there are tons of food options. Again, we're going to go over some of it, but be sure to take a look at those menus before you go. They are all readily available on the Universal website. You can find lots of information about that there. Also, keep in mind there are tons of alternate food choices for like festivals and events. We went over all of that in part 3 of our series, which is episode 89 of Mom Street, where we talked about different events at Universal. So if you're looking for that information, we touched on it briefly. We're not going to talk about those menus tonight. We're just going to focus on kind of year-round offerings that they have at the different locations inside the park. So again, do a quick social media search or a quick Google search for those event menus if you are going to be visiting during like Mardi Gras or HHN or holiday season, any of those types of things that where they have those extra food offerings for that. That all being said, before we jump into specific restaurants, let's talk a few basics on Universal food and Universal dining, because it is a little bit different than what you can find at Disney. So we want to kind of go over some of it's the same, some of it's a little different. So we're just going to cover the basics before we kind of jump in.
Let's rock. So, there are, just like at Disney, and pretty much any other theme park, there are a few different denominations, if you will, a few different types of food service locations that you will find throughout the parks. So we'll start with table service, which when you think of it, it's like the sit down. There's a hostess, there's a menu, food comes to your table. There is generally you have to go up somewhere and retrieve it. You know, the salad bar has since been retired post-COVID, so that sort of option is when you think about like a true sit-down restaurant, that's what we're talking about when we say table service. There are very few true table service offerings within the parks. So really when we're talking about table service, we're going to think either it's at a higher end resort, so it will physically be in one of the hotels, or it's going to be in City Walk. There's really not much in the parks, which is pretty different from Disney, where there are a wide variety of options available at every single park. Pretty much everything in Universal Parks proper is going to be a quick service.
Yeah, and I will mention that we're not really going to touch much on the resort offerings, just because, again, for the sake of time and for the sake of streamlining the information. So if that's something you guys want in a future episode, please just like shoot us a message, leave a comment, let us know if you want more information about kind of resort offerings, because there are lots of good restaurants at the resorts as well. We're just focused on the parks and City Walk for now.
You're right. We have to keep somewhat of a scope.
Yes.
We have eaten at a few of the different restaurants in the resorts that we have stayed at. So we are happy to, like Jackie said, if anybody has questions, comments, concerns, If you just have a question, you can always DM us. You know,
Yeah.
our handles everywhere are Mom Street. So yeah, absolutely. We're happy to do a full episode, or if you just have a quick question or two, just shoot that over to us. Um, a thing to know as we're talking about the table service is that a buffet would also fall under this. Really, the only buffet that is available year round is a singular character meal, because that is, which is like dramatically different than Disney, where like you can't throw a rock. Please don't throw a rock in Disney, but hypothetically speaking, you can't throw a rock without hitting a character meal. You know what I mean? It's they're very plentiful there. So
I think that's my favorite statement that you've made thus far on Pop Street.
if you can't throw a rock, please don't throw a rock at Disney.
But you can't throw a rock without hitting a character dining.
If you were to theoretically throw a rock,
Hypothetically.
statistically speaking, you would hit a character meal location. But yeah, so there is only one character meal that is offered regularly, and then there's the second one, which is seasonally. We talked about a little bit in the last episode, in episode 89. That's the Grinch breakfast buffet. So we talked about that a little bit. But really to focus on the one that is year round, that is a Marvel character dinner specifically, which is also pretty different from Disney because they'll do most meals. Character breakfasts are one of the more popular options for that, but it is explicitly a buffet dinner that is available here. So it's of course, in Islands of Adventure in the superhero area in Cafe 4. You'll get Captain America, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, and Rogue. I have seen pictures of this somewhat recently, and Rogue is suspiciously absent, so I don't know if they just, maybe Rogue had to go off and do some saving or what was going on there, but they say that the characters should be available. Please note that while, of course, they're going to have the big ones, Captain America, Wolverine, other ones may, be on an as available basis.
Do you mean that Rogue may have gone rogue?
That's it, everybody. Wrap it up.
Tomato.
Wrap it up. We've done everything we needed to do. This unfortunately is the final episode of Mom Street. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it. It was teed up waiting for me.
I know everyone who is just listening to this could not see the visual of Jackie slowly leaning into the mic, and I'm like, you know what? I know it's coming, and I can't.
Walk yourself right into it.
It's like a train wreck. You just can't look away, and there's no stopping it.
Listen, I'm not funny very often, and that was also not funny, but I can pretend that it was.
No,
Okay.
it's a good one. It was a good one. I will give it to you happily. It was a good one. You saw your chance and you took it.
I did. I definitely did. Okay, what else can you tell us about the character dinner?
Yes. So to just give you, while we recover over here, to give you just an idea of prices. So for adults, we're looking at $56.99 plus tax. Adults are considered anybody 10 and up for Universal. And for kiddos, it's $31.99 plus tax. Now, the other thing to know is as Rogue has gone rogue, the other thing to know is the rest of the team may also go rogue, in that this is not available every day of the week. It is available most evenings, most dinner times during like the slower periods, because they don't want to cut off that whole food option, but it's usually available between 3 and 4 times a week during those peak summer times. So if this is something that like you and your kiddos would really like, or even you as an adult, if you just really love Captain America, no exclusions here. If this is something that you're really into, yes, he's my fave also.
He is my favorite.
If this is also something that you're interested in, just make sure that you're checking like 2-ish weeks before. You can call Universal up and just, make sure that, during your trip, you'll be able to schedule your day around it so that you'll be able to make that reservation. Speaking of how to make reservations, so you can make the reservation online, or you can call Universal directly. Their number is 407-224-3663. Readily available online if you don't have a pen and paper at the ready right this moment. They do use third party for their online reservations. So there is a website link. If you just literally Google, Universal Dining reservations, that will be the first search result, and you can go ahead and make your reservation wherever you need to. What is interestingly different for Universal versus Disney is that you don't have to put a credit card down to hold your reservation. So I'm sure as everybody knows, at Disney you put your credit card down. What is it if you cancel within how far in
They
advance do you
just
know?
changed it in the last, like, year-ish to a 2-hour window. It used to
Mm.
be, like, 24 hours and that kind of thing, but, yeah, right now at Disney, it's a 2-hour cancellation window that you have, so anywhere before 2 hours and you won't be charged the penalty.
Okay, perfect. Um, so there is no penalty at Universal, which is, there's really only one within the Universal parks, so that's not super surprising. What is important to know, though, is that that may not be true for the locations in City Walk because those locations in City Walk are all third parties. So while they can still be managed on the same page, where the Universal Dining reservation page will link you to the appropriate, like, open table or whatever it may be that that restaurant uses, there are some instances, especially during popular season, for some of the more popular options, which we'll talk about a little bit later, there is a chance that you have to put down your credit card and you may be charged. That is just going to be at the discretion of that restaurant's policies.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that too many of them probably have a credit card requirement because a lot of them are chain restaurants and outside restaurant like you said, they're, almost I think all of them are third party, so you're not typically gonna see that, which is a really big difference from Disney, right? Because every Disney reservation that you make is well, the majority of them are Disney owned and operated, and they are all gonna need some sort of a credit card.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely a surprising difference. I can only think of one off the top of my head. I think it's is it Vino or Vivo, the Italian kitchen. I think when we had gone to go look at making a reservation the last time that we were there, I just wanted to see what times were available. They required a credit card.
Mm,
Now that was during a busy weekend. They may not do it all the time, and of course restaurants always update their policies. So,
right.
just make sure that you are if you have to put the credit card down, make sure that you're able to plan your day or cancel ahead of that window so you don't have a problem.
Yes, and check the cancellation policies because they're probably all different. It's not gonna be one blanket policy like you see at Disney. Those ones are all gonna have their own individual, so be sure to take a look at that.
Agreed. So now that we have covered the table service thoroughly in depth, there are two other types of, dining experiences at Universal. You're going to have your quick service or your counter service. This is by far the most common thing in Universal. Almost all of the places that you can and will if you go there eat at Universal are some sort of like quick service type situation. So think about it like a food court or fast food. You'll stand at a counter, you'll order, you'll pay, and then there are some places where it can be delivered tableside, and there are other places where you will just stand and wait for them to prep your order, call your number, and then you can go sit down. Now, the third type is a food cart. They're like little kiosks or carts that are dotted around. They have like far fewer selections. They are mostly for drinks, and they might have like the odd pretzel or popcorn or something like that. So that is really just like if you're dying of thirst and you need something cold, you need a soda. There are also some adult beverages that are usually available at some of these carts, but it's just like you're very quick, I'm feeling some popcorn and a water type of situation.
Yeah, it seems like there are far less snack carts at Universal than what you find around the Disney parks. I feel like in Disney, you can stand like anywhere on one of the main roads and like do a circle and look around and find a popcorn cart, right? Like
Yes.
that's what it feels like.
Sure.
But Universal is a little bit different in that way. They do exist, but they're a little bit fewer and a little bit more far between.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, there's, like, any number of reasons for it, right? Staffing issues, whatever. I think part of it is also because they now have and they've always kind of had festivals to some degree year-round.
Right.
The food carts that are specific to those festivals sit theoretically where, like, a popcorn cart would
Right.
be, right? So whereas Disney can just, like they choose to, like, keep those offerings all day, right? Like, if there's, like, a special cookie at Christmas time or what have you. Some of it may be available only during the after hours party, but a lot of those treats are gonna be available through the full day. when Universal does like an after hours, like Halloween Horror Nights, that food is exclusively available during the event. There is no serving before. So I think that's probably part of it, is where these stands would go are the event stands.
Right, and they're not open necessarily all the time, or they may not have the same offerings during the day that they maybe would have in the evening, especially for something like a Halloween Horror Nights. Now, something like Mardi Gras is gonna be an all-day offering for the most part with this stuff because they don't have any, like, specific extra ticketed events, during that Mardi Gras, and again, we talked all about those special events, so if you want more of that information, that was what did I say earlier? Part 3 of our Universal series, so hop back a few episodes to find that.
All right. And then, much like Disney, Universal also has mobile ordering available for some of their quick service locations. So it is available through the Universal app. So when you're in the park, there's a button that appears on the home screen of the app, and it says order food. So this will bring up a list of food options that support mobile ordering, and it's sorted by the distance from where you currently are in the park.
Which was not always the case and is the best feature that they have added. I have to say, it is a
Yeah.
lifesaver because even if you didn't necessarily want a mobile order, which you should, but if for whatever reason you didn't, it is extremely handy to understand your distance in
Right.
relation to whatever your food option is. Because if you're getting hangry, you want to know what's
Mhm.
closest.
Exactly.
So true.
Yeah, so if you're at mobile ordering, you can see what's closest to you at the time. And so some of the restaurants do offer tableside delivery. Others will be pickup only for table delivery. So you wouldn't be able to complete your order and like kind of do the like I'm here thing until you're actually like seated at a table because it's going to ask you for your table number so that the server bringing the food, can find where you are. Locations that do table delivery, as of when we were researching for this episode, are in Universal Studios, Richter's, The Leaky Cauldron, and the Minion Cafe. In Islands of Adventure, Circus McGurkus, Thunder Falls Terrace, Three Broomsticks, Cafe 4, obviously on the non-character dining nights, and the Captain America Diner. In Epic Universe, Meteor, Astropub, Pizza Moon, Burning Blade Tavern, Das Steakhouse, Hooligans Grog and Gruel, Meat Hall, Toadstool Cafe, Cafe L'air de la Serene. Did I say that right? You're always giving me the French names, and I don't know how to say them.
It's intentional.
It is at this
It's
point.
normally me that has to pronounce those, so I'm glad to hear someone else do it for once.
La Goblet Noir, and the Oak and Star Tavern. So for pickup orders, you'll go and wait in the line or the pickup area that is designated for that location. Some of them have multiple pickup lines, kind of like in Disney. If you've ever, placed a mobile order there, it'll tell you go to, lane 2 or lane 5. So you would need to just look at your order ticket and see where it's telling you to go to grab your tray. So if you're more ordering through the app, the only method of payment would be to use a credit card or gift cards that you've loaded onto the app.
No, you can't
Or,
actually.
I'm so sorry. You cannot use a gift card. I'm so
It's
sorry.
no, that's okay. It
Bye.
it seems a little counterintuitive. It is really difficult to use a gift card at Universal, from experience, right? Like, so when we take our trips, our annual pilgrimage to Universal, it's around my birthday, so usually I am gifted a Universal gift card, and it's like they don't want you to spend the gift card. It's so difficult. Not everywhere takes it. You can't use it on a lot of things. If you are using it in certain locations, it has to cover the full thing. So like I know but it's only in certain shopping locations. Is that true? Like if you go to like the Tribute store or that main store that's in City Walk where you can buy a little bit of everything, that doesn't matter. But if some of these like smaller side stores, like some of the gift shops, I don't know if it's like the way that their POS system is set up. Like, I'm not sure what the deal is, but more than once I've been told that like there's not enough balance on this and we can't deduct the $3.07 that you have on the gift card. You have to pay another way. It's very, very strange.
That is
It's
so strange and so different from what you experience at Disney where they it's super easy to use.
yes.
Wild. That's
There
so
are
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've made this clear that there's a lot of things that Universal does well and has like really like updated and kept ahead of, but there are certain things that I'm like, this is a bizarre choice. And this is definitely because somebody set this system up in 1997
Right.
and that guy has retired. So if we
They
change it,
did it
it
again.
will break, right? Like I work in tech. I understand that guy, once he retired, all knowledge is lost.
Right.
But maybe can I use this
Right.
$3.07 on the gift card, please?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, and I will say just a note about the whole like table delivery thing. This is vastly different than what Disney does, right? At Disney, you have to go up to the window. It's a little bit sketchy at busy times to find a seat and figure out, kind of coordinate all of that. I really like that Universal has that option because basically what happens is if they are one that does the table delivery, you'll go in and the team member will like ask you if you've placed your order and they will like guide you to a table that is available, which is really nice. So a lot of those restaurants, I think they primarily, I think they're doing it to avoid people just like sitting and not ordering and not eating, right? Because they have the team members that are kind of monitoring all of that. But I think it's really nice because as a mom, with, if I'm ever there and I've got a stroller or, multiple kids that I'm trying to corral and find a table. Like we were walking around Pinocchio Village House on my last trip at Magic Kingdom trying to find a table before we could even go to get our food because it was just like it was chaos in there and it was like there were at the time there were 9 of us, so it's like trying to find tables for all of us, and we had multiple kids that were not in strollers and we're walking and like I want to go with you, and it's like, oh my gosh, my brain was gonna explode. So, the table delivery would have alleviated all of that stress because they would go, "Here's the table for you," and I would have gone, "Thank you so much."
We could sit and corral all of the
Yes.
children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, really, really nice that Universal has that. I wish that that's something, and maybe it will be something that Disney adopts in the future, but a service like that is very, very helpful. And don't get me wrong, if you need help at quick service locations at Universal or Disney, ask someone, right? If you need help carrying your trays because you're one grown up with 3 kids and you don't have enough hands that are reliable to carry food back to your table, ask for help. I have seen cast members carrying trays at quick service locations to help parents get stuff to their table. So by all means, ask for help. But I really
Yes.
like that service that Universal offers.
Yeah. It's really handy, and I will say on the topic of seating, Universal, I don't know how they did it. I don't know if it's just like efficiency in the way they design their buildings. They almost always have enough seating. We have gone at very, very busy times, and it is extremely rare for us to not find a place to sit. I mean, like indoor, in the air conditioning, comfortable, right? Like we've gone at some peak times, and I think it's just the nature of the way that they have set up their buildings. They're really like optimized for maximum amount of tables with still leaving plenty of room to navigate. Like they still are very comfortable if you have strollers or any kind of accessibility device. So they do a pretty good job of, keeping the flow going and keeping tables open as well as having enough availability for their locations.
Well, and I think my suspicion, and as I was doing research for this, I think part of that is that Universal does not allow outside food brought into their parks, which is a major, major difference, again, to the Disney parks, who will allow you to bring full picnics in, right?
Mhm.
So I think Disney sees more of their quick service location tables being taken for people who have brought in food and maybe bought food too, but brought in the majority of their food. So they just, in general, don't have as much of a way of doing kind of crowd control, so to speak, in their quick service restaurants because they can control how much mobile order they offer per hour, right? And that's going to be how many people come into their restaurant. At Disney, they can control that, but they can't control the outside of who's going to try to bring food in and sit, those types of things. So I think that probably also has a major difference between Disney and Universal seating at their quick services.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point I didn't
very
think
true.
about. Yeah.
Oh, I thought about it because we always take our food into Disney, and as I was reading through the Universal thing, now granted, if we're gonna sit at a quick service location, we're gonna order something from a quick service location, right? Like, if we're going into Pinocchio's Village House, we're not just gonna take up a bunch of tables and not order anything, especially if it's during peak season or peak time during the day. But I was reading that and I was like, huh, that's good to know for future reference because we're so used to just taking our lunches in with us because we literally do it every day when we go into the parks. Now, there is an exception to that, which I'm actually going to talk about in this next section because I do briefly want to talk about allergies and food allergies at Universal. If you want information about food allergies at Disney, last episode, Stevie and I did a whole breakdown on what that looks like at the Disney parks. So check that out if you're looking for Disney information. But as far as Universal goes with their food allergies, they do have accommodations that are available. For any questions and the most up-to-date list of allergy-free items at Universal Orlando, they do have an email address that they suggest that you contact before your trip, and that is food.allergy@universalorlando.com. And again, readily available. Just do a quick Google search for allergy options, and that'll pop right up. Similar to Disney, you can always ask to speak to a chef or a manager at any restaurant within the resort, or any of the hotels once you're there. So if you are, once you get seated or once you, decide where you want to eat, you can always request to speak to somebody about allergy concerns. You're going to want to let them know, again, which guest in your party has the food allergy or intolerance, what that is, and Universal culinary staff will make every effort to prevent that allergen from coming into contact with any part of that guest's meal. It should be noted, however, Universal Orlando does not have separate food preparation facilities in which to prepare allergy-free foods. So there is occasionally the chance that allergens may have been introduced to one or more ingredients before they even reached the kitchens at Universal Orlando. It's not going to be perfect, right? So just keep that in mind as you're planning your meals and planning accordingly, depending on the severity of your allergy and what your allergy or intolerance may be. So again, we talked about outside food is not allowed at Universal. However, security will make exceptions if you have allergies that are in your travel party. So all you have to do at security is if you're taking food in, you just have to let them know, hey, my kiddo or myself or whoever has this, they have celiacs or they have an allergy to peanuts or any of that type of thing. And security has no problem letting those items into the park at that point. Just a quick note that if you are carrying food in, only soft-sided coolers smaller than 8.5 inches wide, 6 inches high, and 6 inches deep are permitted. So take a look at that if you're planning to carry, a soft-sided lunchbox in with you if you have allergy concerns.
One other thing to note also that I meant to put it in the notes for you is that glass bottles are not permitted. So as you're bringing this in, just make sure that nothing is in a breakable glass container, all plastic, please.
Yeah, and I would also imagine, and I didn't exactly look it up, but I'm fairly certain that alcohol is a big no-no to bring into the park as well,
Mhm.
similar to the policies that Disney has on all that. So
Yeah.
if you're bringing food in, again, I would hope that if it's an allergy concern, there's no need for you to bring alcohol in. Who knows, but just don't do it, right? Look up what their stipulations are, look up what you're allowed to do, follow the rules is the
Yeah.
is the main point we're trying to make.
Yeah. We haven't had an issue bringing water bottles into the park, but I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Other than unless, you
Yeah,
use it
and they do allow
cheaper for something.
water bottles, reusable water bottles to be brought in. That's not a problem at all. It says that very explicitly on their website. Like water bottles are totally fine, but anything other than that, not allowed unless it's an allergy or a dietary issue that you have going on there. That also being said, if you have a religious food accommodation that you need while you're visiting the parks, Universal can provide kosher and I don't know how to say that word, halal,
Halal.
halal, right? Meals. Apologies if I said that
No,
incorrectly.
halal, you were good.
You're good.
Okay, in the parks, but they have to be ordered in advance. So this is something that you have to contact Universal before your trip, if you want that to be considered. So these meals are prepared in separate facilities, and they are just a set rate of $85 per person for a three-course meal that includes salad, entree, and dessert.
That's
And
per
then
meal.
It's per meal, yes.
Mhm. Yes, per person per meal. So then Universal requests at least a 5-day advance notice, and you can email that same allergy email address that I gave you earlier to arrange those meals as well. So at least 5 days in advance. That way they can prep their kitchen and everything when it comes to that. And do note that our good friend Lem from Live Laugh Lem in the live chat here is noting that um, HHN rules are a little bit different in that if you're carrying water bottles in, they have to be empty.
Yes. That is
So
an excellent point because more than once I've seen people try to sneak alcohol in.
so just again, if you're going to events, if you're going to the parks, just do a quick read through on what's allowed and what's not allowed, regardless of when you're visiting or what you're visiting for, just to make sure that you're following the rules.
I must look very unsuspicious because I've definitely brought like a water bottle full of liquid into
Yeah.
HHN.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
we bring our like the water bottles with like the reusable ones with like a filter on them, so I
Yeah.
don't think anybody thinks we're bringing
That
a
could be.
in our Brita.
Or is it, or
Filter.
if you're entering in early, you know what I mean? I wonder if they start checking that just at more at like HHN, not like the stay and scream or the early, you know what I mean? So
Could
like
be.
times that you can get in, maybe that's the difference.
Or perhaps my Scooby-Doo attire just screams, I'm doing
I'm not trying to do anything nefarious.
I am unproblematic.
I am not committing illegal acts. Scooby and the gang would catch me so quickly.
Yeah. That's true. But yes, so that is kind of your allergy and special dietary brief information. Again, contact Universal, look up on the website what you need to know for that.
So, another thing to know that's kind of different from the way that Disney does it is the Universal's refillable mug situation. So, it sounds a little odd as I'm going to be explaining it because there are like two separate mugs and where you can fill them, etc., etc. It's different from Disney. So, all of the dining locations at Universal have the Coca-Cola freestyle machines. So that's the one with it's the big Coca-Cola machine with the screen where you can pick like a billion different flavors and it's perfect for mixing sodas. It's really sick. But there's like 10-ish or so in every park. And the way that this works is you have to purchase a cup, the cup that will work with the machine, and then you get free refills on any machine throughout that specific day. So if you're purchasing a new cup, it is $18.99 per cup. They have like different designs on them, right? Like there's a couple classic Universal ones. Like they always have like that vintage 80s looking one with all of the icons. They usually have like an ET one and a Jaws one, but they'll also have like a theme to whatever's happening then, right? Like their events, like a Mardi Gras one or an HHN one, something like that. So the offerings change pretty regularly. These can be bought at most of the counter service locations throughout the park, excluding any of the Harry Potter dining locations. There is something different in there, which I'm actually not even going to throw in. It's like a butterbeer specific mug. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. It gets insane. A note to save your receipt just in case anything goes sideways, but the cups are pretty good. There's a chip on the bottom of them. It's an RFID chip, and so it reads the fact that it was purchased and or activated that day, and then you just stick it under, you pick your soda flavor, and you're good to go. Should you purchase the cup and then be coming back another day, you can sort of like quote unquote reload that cup, right? You can reactivate it for another day that you did not purchase it on, and that is $11.99 for the day. Now, I get this question. I've seen this question all the time. It does not matter when you purchase the cup. You could have purchased it 5 years ago. You could have purchased it yesterday. They will still be able to reactivate that cup for $11.99. Now, it's possible the RFID chips work on small batteries. Sometimes those batteries die, right? It's the same technology that Magic Bands work on, right? So if you think about those older Magic, like first-gen Magic Bands, they don't really work anymore because the battery died. They will replace the cup. They'll replace the cup, and then you will just have the $11.99 charge. I've seen it happen every single trip where somebody brings like a cup from 2016, and the cast member's like, I remember when they came out with this, right? Like it's always a fun conversation. But yeah, so it does not matter how old the cup is. When it was purchased, they can still reactivate it.
And that being said, if you don't want to purchase the reusable one, you can purchase single-use ones as well, but you won't be able to access the like soda part of the machine without having a cup that has the RFID chip in it. So even the single-use ones that they give you will still have those in it. It's the same way that Disney does it to prevent people from stealing drinks other than water from their machines.
Right. Which is actually a really good point. The water is available.
Regardless.
Ice and water does not matter. Universal does not want you to have heat stroke on their property. At any of these machines, you can access ice and water. I will say, regularly during HHN, the machines have run out of ice by like 10 o'clock at night. So like it happens, right? You'll still have access to the cool water, but the ice may not always be available on particularly hot days, so on and so forth. But if you are in real desperate need of ice, you can usually go up to the counter and they will figure out a way to accommodate you. There's usually an ice maker in the back.
Yeah, I think Universal just has an issue keeping the ice stocked in those because I feel like at like 11 a.m. sometimes they're out of ice too. So
Yep.
you may or may not get ice. Hopefully, cross your fingers, but definitely water for sure is always available.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can definitely hydrate. It just may not be with the optimal temperature water.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
Going back to the reusable cups.
Yes, yes. So if you are purchasing the reusable cups, the more it's, the classic, the more you buy, the more you save, right? So if you are buying two, they are $16.99 per cup. When you buy three or more, that goes down to $14.99. Um, I have never seen anybody buy more. I think I saw somebody buy 10 cups once, and they were still the $14.99 if I remember right. I think it was just like a large family gathering, or perhaps a tour group. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so the discount really is the lowest that they go is that $14.99. Oh, so another thing that's important to note is that if you want something that is not in the freestyle machine, like a lemonade or a tea that is available at a quick service, most of the time, just ask the team members and they will be happy to get it for you. It is largely included. That is sometimes not true with certain specialty drinks. Of course, it's not true with any alcoholic drinks. But usually if it's like a specialty lemonade, it may not be included, but just plain lemonade, plain iced tea, those are included in the refills. They're just not in the machines.
And special note that some of the machines have special like secret menus
Yes.
based on location. So if you want to know more about that, we won't spoil it for you. But if you want to know more about that, do a quick Google search on what that looks like because I think they even have them at Epic Universe too.
So no full spoilers. The ones that are in Universal Studios and IOA are like true secret menu. You like have to do a fun little thing to get to them. I believe the ones in Epic, every land has their own unique flavor, and that I believe is just readily available on the screen. Still a super fun little thing, but I'm definitely gonna try every single flavor in Epic when we go there. I'm so gonna be honest. As soon as I saw a video on it, I was like, "Oh, this is like number
This is
two
for you.
After going on the Wolfman ride, this is number two, right? Like, I'm going
Wolfman and secret menu drinks.
Yeah, those are like the two things that I care about is Wolfman and soda. You know what I mean? So no.
Yeah. I will note that our good friend Victoria is in the chat here, and she mentioned something that I want to see what you guys know about it. She said that she loved the refillable mugs and it saved her life when she was there to being able to get more. But she also said something about ices being a big
Yeah.
hack with that. So what do you know
Yes.
about that, Duck?
That is very true. Thank you, Victoria. So just like some of the other items are included, right? Like an iced tea or a lemonade, ices are also included with your reusable cup purchase.
Awesome.
So it is awesome. So if you are a big icy person or you just like feel like something's super cold because Florida gets hot, any icy flavor at any location is included with the refillable cups. That is a good call out. Absolutely. So I alluded earlier that there is like a separate type of mug, and that is the resort mug. It is, I cannot make this clear enough. I have seen a lot of upset people at the resort machines. The cup that you are getting in the park and the cup that you are getting at the resort, two different things. They are not interchangeable. They will not work. Those RFID chips will say, nope, sorry, not for you. So the way that the resort mugs work is that for $20 for the whole length of your stay, you get the cup and unlimited refills, right? So that $20 is cup and refills to your heart's content. But they are explicitly and only, I must emphasize this enough, they are only available at your resort where you purchased it. There are usually multiple machines.
They don't let you do resort to resort with that.
Not resort hop.
Fascinating.
The chip is specifically designated with an ID for the machines that are in your resort. There's usually a couple. It depends on your resort, but usually there's one down by the pool if your pool has like a little food or bar area. And there's usually one in like the grab and go section that's like towards the front where you check in most resorts. You can only use it at your specific resort. Once upon a time, you could use it across resorts, but since they kind of discourage like pool hopping and, going back and forth, it is only at the resort at which you purchased it.
Mm.
There may be one exception, and that could be the Endless Summer Dockside and Surfside because they share so many amenities.
Right.
I actually would have to look into that. I'm not sure, but everything else I know for a fact is only your home resort where you purchased.
That's a game changer, though, like,
Yeah.
because we always get the resort mugs at Disney, because Disney, if you don't know, offers the resort refillable mugs. They do not have an in-parks option, but you can fill it at any resort at Disney. So if you are resort hopping to go to a quick service location, like we stayed at Art of Animation, we took the Skyliner to the Riviera to go to Primo Piatto, we took our mugs with us and were able to refill them there.
Pro
But you
tip.
can't do that at Universal, so that's
You
good
cannot.
to know.
And it's interesting because I don't want to say Universal discourages hopping exactly, but Disney, a lot of like Disney is very, very like easily accessible across the board. Like you can very easily make reservations at one resort and get there no problem, especially for places like the Poly that have like character breakfasts and whatnot. So they want you to go to these other resorts. They want you to experience them. At Universal, it's almost like a little bit, I don't want to call it an exclusive club, but like the resort that you're at is the resort that they kind of want you to stay at, right?
Yeah.
The sort of exception is the ones that are on the water because there is the water taxi, but even then it's like it's not super easy to get. You have to like change once you get to City Walk. So they're not big on like Disney where it's like just take the Skyliner to the other resort
Right.
and have your reservation, at
Right.
Capilino's Terrace or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I feel like that's the difference. There's so many character meals at Disney, and there's so many like things that would draw you to the restaurants at the other resorts. Like most of the resort restaurants are like they're not anything special in that sense of like that there's a specific character meal or like something like that that you would want to go for.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit different in that sense.
They're definitely built with individual resort in mind, right? The resort that you are the quote unquote resort that you are at is it's your hotel and the parks. That is it. Right? There is no real transportation between hotels at
Mhm.
Universal, unlike at Disney, where they want the whole thing is the resort. They sort of want to focus on your experience at Universal being the hotel that you were staying at and the parks and City Walk, of course. That's the way. I think that's the difference in the way that these things are set up.
Again, the mugs at Universal, rightfully so, knowing that you can't use them at more than one place, are cheaper than the ones at Disney. Disney, I believe, if I remember, we just bought them. I think they were $24.99 for the length of your stay, but you can take them to any location that you go to. So we filled them at a ton of different, because we did a lot of resort hopping on this last trip, whereas the Universal ones are 20 for just your resort. I
Yeah.
think the Disney one, even though it's more, is a better deal if you know, especially if you know you're going to go to some of those quick service locations. But we would just carry ours around sometimes. And if we went by, even if we weren't going to Primo Piatto, we could stop into Primo Piatto and fill our mug while we're riding the Skyliner and wandering around resort hopping, even if we're not eating there.
Absolutely. It's not and the other thing is that like I think at Disney it's more common to have multiple resort days built into your trip. It's far less common in a Universal
Yeah.
trip, right? You're mostly there for the parks. You might have a day. And so like maybe if you have a kiddo who really loves soda or you really love soda and you can convince your family to share the one mug, it's probably worth it to just get the one,
Right.
But
Mhm.
I would not the consensus, we've never bought it at Universal, and the consensus online seems to be unless you are doing exactly that, convincing everybody to share one cup of soda, or you are doing like you have a long stay and you're doing multiple days in your hotel, probably not worth
Yeah.
it.
Right. I mean, even at Disney, my kids are 6 and 8. We don't buy them for them. My husband and I will buy them. And then, like, if we are eating a meal at the food court there, we'll fill one with lemonade or Powerade for them and one with soda because my kids refuse to drink fizzy drinks. It's a whole thing. I know. It's okay. They're
Love that.
bless their little sensory
So
overload
sweet.
hearts. I know.
I feel that so deeply because I also don't like most fizzy drinks. Soda's the exception because my love for Coca-Cola overrides everything. But like like Jess is drinking. I call
Yeah.
them spicy waters.
Spicy waters.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So I'm fully with your children.
Yeah. So we don't bother to buy them their own because we can just
Yeah,
make
makes
it work
sense.
with what we have. So, and do note that if you are buying these at any Universal, Disney, in the parks at Universal, in the resorts, the other places, they all have a timer on them. So you can't just unlimitedly, is that a word? It is now. Refill your mugs. Like you can't just stand there and like chug it. There's like a 5 to 10 minute timer depending on where you are and which mug you have that you can't like constantly refill. So do keep that in mind, especially if you're sharing. Like keep that in mind if you're going to be getting one mug for multiple people, that you do have a timer on when you can go back and refill again.
Yeah, you can usually get. So here's a pro tip for you. If you can get a team member over there, they can override it. So like if you have a kiddo that just like chugged the soda that you were supposed to be sharing and you're locked out for another 10 minutes, you can just be like, "Hey, my kid really liked this cherry Coke. Can we please? Can you please?" They'll do it. It's not any big deal.
Yeah, so true. All right, what else do we need to know? I think there's a couple other things about these resort mugs before we move on.
Yes. So when it comes to cups, certain events like Halloween Horror Nights and Mardi Gras will have specialty cocktails at those temporary booths that we talked about earlier. Those booths sell special themed cups. They're called blinky cups because they blink, right? They have the little like light up thing, strobe light on the bottom. It's a lot of fun at HHN when you're just like looking down like a dark, spooky area and you just see these like little
blinky
blinky
cups.
lights. It's incredible. It's truly like the ambiance unmatched. But yeah, so they will sell the blinky cups. You can purchase those cups. So it's usually one price if you want the blinky cup and cocktail, or you just want the cocktail and like a disposable cup. But when you buy the blinky cups, you can get discounted refills, and those refills are good through the rest of the event. So if you are going back, like we have lots of friends that do HHN for multiple nights. In fact, they're there for like weeks at a time, basically. As if you purchase it once and you bring it back, there is no trekking that you bought it then. It is good for the rest of the season. You can bring it back and get that refill discount.
That's a major tip to
Mhm.
take advantage of that. Now, take advantage of it safely.
Yeah.
Be smart
Stop.
with your consumption.
Yes.
However, that's really awesome.
Well, and it's also good because they offer mocktails at
Yeah.
the same locations. Most of the drinks will have a mocktail counterpart. When we first started going to HHN, it was like really they were very heavy on alcohol. Maybe only one or two locations would have mocktails. Last year, most locations that served like a specialty themed cocktail had a mocktail.
Non-alcoholic version.
Yeah, a mocktail counterpart, or they could just make a non-alcoholic. So, and those discounts will apply for the mocktail. So if you maybe had one too many, or you were just abstaining from alcohol for whatever reason, but you want a fun blinky cup, you can absolutely still participate in the blinky. Yeah,
Yeah.
That would be me. I want a blinky cup.
you right there. You can participate in the blinky cup.
If you're not watching us on video, I just did a little happy dance about that.
Because blinky cups are fun.
Exactly. We'd have to get Jackie to HHN first.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah. Sorry, that's not gonna happen.
I think I'm just gonna buy you a blinky cup and ship it.
I think that's I see with the blinky cup.
I was gonna say you're gonna lure me into HHN. Look at the blinky cup.
Into
Follow
the fog,
blinky
Jackie. Come on. Come on. I'll see you in the fog. Come on. Oh, goodness. Okay. To pull Jackie back in with the blinky cup. Now that we have talked through the basics, right? We've talked through the types of food locations that are available. We've talked through some of the drink stipulations, I'll say. We are going to shift over to recommendations for families with kids, right? Of course, that's the focus of Mom Street at Universal. So we're going to talk about the different food locations. We're going to talk about some of their offerings. These choices we explicitly picked because they are largely kid-friendly, or they might have good options even if they don't have an explicit kid menu. They are good, family-friendly kid options are available. A good chunk of these we've eaten at. Some of them we haven't. So this is like we just sort of like crowdsourced some of this information because unless you live locally, I would be shocked if anyone could eat their full way through a theme park. I'm going to be honest with you. So tragically, for better or worse, we are not local. So some of these places we've eaten at, some of them we haven't.
Perfect. So we're going to start at Universal Studios. And again, we're just going to highlight a few options of the many that they have. So the first one we're going to talk about is Louis Italian Restaurant. And this is one that is good for lunch and dinner. And you will hear that a lot as we go through these. There are not very many breakfast options in the parks that we would recommend. There are some, but breakfast is a little harder to come by at Universal than you would find at like Disney. So just plan accordingly. Remember, you can't bring food in, so maybe plan to grab something at your resort, plan to have some food in your room, depending on what your needs are with that.
If
Uh,
I can make one pro tip recommendation, the first night of your trip, go to City Walk and get Voodoo Donuts.
mhm.
That's what we do. So what we do is that we will get like a half dozen or sometimes 8, depends on how long we're there. We'll buy them. We'll have a little treat the first night that we're in, and then their specialty donuts we will treat as vacation breakfast, right?
Those are champions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're on vacation, it's airport rules, right?
Yeah.
Any food, anytime, totally goes. There is no structure. Absolutely. So, and truly, nothing is as life-changing as having a peanut butter Oreo donut for breakfast. Dude, it is incredible. But truly, like it's a really good option if you are like a sweet breakfast person.
Yeah.
Really like a great option to just have right in your room. You can just, do that and head out. Or if you want to be a little bit healthier or whatever, the grab and go, because if you want to not live your life on vacation, no. We've done this too, where we've gone down the first night that we got there down to the grab and go area, and we'll just grab like a fruit cup or cereal. We've done oatmeal before, right? Like they have all those little like instant packets that you can just like make with hot water. So those are also really good quick options before you head into the parks.
There's also Starbucks in City Walk, Islands of Adventure Studios. I don't know if there's one in Epic because we haven't been to Epic yet.
I actually don't know that.
I genuinely don't know. I haven't looked it up yet.
Victoria says there are 2 Starbucks locations in Epic.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So no matter which park, you can at least get breakfast there.
If I may read a quick quote, there's a convenient kiosk near Dark Universe.
Wow. Look at that. Isn't that just perfect?
I can get caffeinated right before I go run away to go live with the monsters in the castle. Let's be honest.
I love that. Yes, all great ideas to plan your breakfast ahead. Okay, back to Universal Studios.
Yes.
Louis Italian Restaurant, lunch and dinner options. As the name implies, it is Italian food at this location. They do not have a specific set kids menu at this location. So this is one of those that doesn't have a kids menu, but has a lot of kid-friendly options because they have a pretty wide menu if you are someone who enjoys Italian food. They've got pizza, fettuccine alfredo, spaghetti. They've got different salads, meatball subs, all very kid-friendly options that you can get at that location. Moving on to another location is Finnegan's, which again, a lunch and dinner option there. It is an Irish pub style restaurant. They do have a kids menu. This kids menu is a little bit smaller and maybe doesn't apply to every kid. Because me looking at this, I would be like, kind of for my kids. But if you've got kiddos that really like fish, they've got a grilled salmon, they've got cheeseburgers, they've got like a fruit plate if you've got real picky eaters that don't really eat a ton and just need a little bit of something to snack on. And then they do have chicken tenders as well. The adult menu here has a typical pub fare. So they've got fish and chips, shepherd's pie, New York strip steak, burgers, and those types of things. So if that is more your kiddos' alley, you can definitely order for them off of the full menu or, split something with them if you need to. And for those who are of age, this is a very popular spot to partake in some adult beverages at this location. So you might be able to get the best of both if you need to. Again, consume responsibly, especially if you're with your children in a theme park. Just throwing that out there.
Safety first, but you
Yeah.
are on vacation, so a little treat is always warranted.
Yes, exactly. Another location at Universal Studios is the Leaky Cauldron, and this is a really popular one that a lot of people know about in the Harry Potter area. This one does have a breakfast option at it and also lunch and dinner. They have just kind of a generic kids breakfast on their kids menu, so you can look more into that if that's something that you might want to to check out. For their lunch and dinner, they have mac and cheese, fish and chips. They have a mini pie, so either cottage pie or fisherman's pie. If that is something that you feel like your kiddo would enjoy, they have that option for you there. Minion Cafe is another really fun themed option that you can do for kiddos at Universal Studios. Again, lunch and dinner there. Shocking, it's Despicable Me themed.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have known
Hey,
from that
these
name?
names. That's still not descriptive enough. I think they need to rename it.
And it's not in your face yellow either, it's fine.
Rip Monster Cafe is all I have to say.
Oh, womp womp.
It's okay. It was a good update. As much as it pains me to say, it was
Yeah.
time for something new.
Yeah, and we did talk about the Minion area earlier in the series, so hop back over there if you want more information about that. They do have a kids menu, surprising no one because it's a very kid-friendly area. They have
thought that this was going to be like the Victoria and Alberts of Universal.
Can you imagine if they actually did that?
That I actually have to say, even if they did it for like one night only, would be the
It would be so
funniest
funny.
use of free will that they could employ.
The juxtaposition of like fancy attire with the minions all. It would
They
be
have
great.
to make it a character meal too and have the minions serve you your dinner. Everybody is like dressed to the nines.
Absolutely.
Yes, that would be pretty incredible. Their kids menu is super fun. I actually wrote down the name of the offerings that they had here because it was really, really fun. So they have the Mega Melt, which is grilled cheese. They have shrunken moon balls with flying sauce. So spaghetti and meatballs with that one. And Mr. Gru's PB and jelly as well. And they also have little minion shaped tater tots, minion tots there that are very, very popular. And they have some of the best and most consistent food in the park. I reckon it's probably because they're one of the newer locations in the park. So they kind of have expanded some offerings that maybe Universal was lacking previously.
I also think because it's so popular, some of the less popular locations, the food may have time to sit in between being cooked and being served, right? They're going to try to
So
get
true.
it for, dinner rush or whatever. But this is probably the busiest quick service location.
Everything's
in
all
that
fresh.
park. Exactly. So they cook it and then it's immediately purchased, So there's very little time that your food would be sitting because it's so popular.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So those are kind of 4 good options for your kiddos at Universal Studios. Again, not going into all the detail, not going through every location, but those 4 are solid choices. If you heard something on there that you know your kiddo will like, you've got a good choice there.
So we'll move over to Islands of Adventure and talk about some of their food offerings there. So first up is the Three Broomsticks. So this is another breakfast, lunch, and dinner location. So this is again Harry Potter themed. There is a kids menu here that features an English breakfast, pancake breakfast, American breakfast, and continental breakfast, and a porridge breakfast. A lot more breakfast options over here. And then on the kids menu for lunch and dinner is fish and chips, chicken legs, chicken fingers, and mac and cheese. Next up is the Green Eggs and Ham Cafe. So this one is in the Seuss Landing. Why can't I think of it? So this one is in Seuss Landing. And this is another lunch and dinner only location. So there's no true kids menu here, but it is a kid friendly area. I mean, it's in Seuss Landing. And so they do have a lot of kid friendly foods. Think things like tater tots, and even edible cookie dough.
And that location is more of a kiosk-y stand, kind of. It's not like an indoor seating location. So keep that in mind. They have less offerings there, which is why we don't see a kids menu there.
And then there is Mythos, which is a lunch and dinner location. So this is kind of a fusion restaurant of Mediterranean, Asian, and American food. So quite the mix there. So think a lot of lamb, couscous, and some pad thai, all served in one location. They do feature a kids menu though. So they have penne pasta, beef skewers, grilled cheese, chicken fingers, cheeseburgers, and cheese pizza. So a lot of kiddo and like picky eater friendly options there.
Yeah, I think all of the American options are the kids menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like American adjacent and the rest is like lamb, couscous, pad thai.
Right, exactly.
I will say I'm not sure that Mythos is long for this world because Mythos is over in the Lost Continent area, which has, with the closing of Poseidon, there's nothing over there anymore. So I suspect they're going to keep this open probably even through any sort of retheme that they do, right? It's a good food location, right? It's very accessible. It's like right on the path as you're heading back to, towards through the park. So I don't think that they will close it anytime soon. I just suspect whenever that retheme gets underway, they will also retheme Mythos to whatever the new location will be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, speaking of new themes and new locations, we're going to run through a couple of food offerings at Epic Universe. So, of course, we have the Toadstool Cafe, which is in the Nintendo area. I'm sure you have seen a billion photos of all of the food on here. It's like super Instagrammable, right? All of their food has like a cute little theme. The burger, the little Mario burger, it comes with a little hat and a little mustache is on the it's so cute. It's so cute. It's so cute. So of course everything here is Super Mario themed as you would expect. The kids menu is a little slim here. It's technically just burger and spaghetti, but there are other things on the menu. If you have a kiddo who's, really into Mario, they're probably going to want to order it anyway because they're going to see the little question mark block tiramisu go by and they're like, I want that! Right? Like, I want that espresso. Right. And then just stick them on the Mario Kart ride and let them do laps. You'll be
Just go let them punch some blocks in Nintendo World.
It's a perfect area for them to be hopped up on sugar, I gotta tell you. So while there is only like 2 things on the technical kids menu, if you have a kiddo who has a big appetite or maybe slightly older, there's plenty of like very fun themed options on the menu for them to pick from. Now there's also Pizza Moon in Celestial Park. That's a lunch and dinner. Oh, I didn't say Toadstool Cafe is only a lunch and dinner location, no breakfast. So back to Pizza Moon, that is also a lunch and dinner location. There is, again, one of those things where there's no technical kids menu, but it's pizza, pastas, salad. So if you have a kiddo who likes Italian food, who likes pizza, they're going to be in heaven here. So we are proudly and annoyingly from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we are very skeptical about pizza, but I have heard fantastic things about the pizza from Pizza Moon. So this is like one of the top things on my list that I want to try food-wise in Epic.
I don't know, unless they're importing their water from the tri-state area. I don't know.
Listen, that's really for bagels. I think we can get away with a pizza crust. That's not the same water, but you never know. But yeah, so I've heard like really like raving things about it. So I think this is going to be one that we prioritize checking out.
A lot of their pizza tends to have a few more toppings on it than you would find at like standard pizza places. So keep that in mind. If you're like someone who your kiddo will only eat cheese pizza and that's it, you may just want to double check the menu to see if there's something that you can either pull stuff off of or, kids, you never know if it touches their cheese, will they not eat it? Depends on the day sometimes. So take a look because they do have some more kind of there's not even exploratory or adventurous, but it's just specialty. Yes, specialty pizza for sure on their menu.
Like a penny vodka pizza, you get a meat lover's pizza, right? Like those kinds of things where there is like some more exciting topping options.
Yes.
And I believe they offer a plain cheese pizza, but sometimes kids, it's just overstimulating. You're totally right. It might just be too many smells, too many exciting things. It just might not happen, right? Like your kiddo's best, so
yes.
Okay, and then the third option that we have to just discuss quickly within Epic is Hooligans, Grog, and Gruel, which my brain shut down trying to read that the first time. So that's in the How to Train Your Dragon area, as the Grog and Gruel portion might allude to. This is a lunch and dinner location. It's a little different though, because it is technically a snack stand versus like a straight up quick service sit down type of location. There are no kids menus here either, but because it's a snack stand, there's, a variety of offerings here and, quick bite type options. So there is a mac and cheese cone, which I have seen a lot of positive things about.
Yeah, that's the Instagram shot right there is the mac and cheese cone.
100%. And it's not just like stunt food, right? It's not just Instagram food. I've heard really good feedback about it. So that is definitely something that I also want to try when we're there. But there is a PB&J mac and cheese, which is pork, bacon, and jam mac and cheese. There's the Dragonfire Chicken Spire, which is Nashville-style pulled chicken, hot honey on top of mac and cheese, right? So this is a mac and cheese snack stand with different toppings and different, forms, etc., etc.
I love that they're all in a cone, so it's just, like,
Yeah.
so handy to just, like
Mhm.
again, it's a snack stand, so just, like, walk and eat it as you go, so depending on whether or not your kiddo can handle that, you may need to find seating in order to
You might
have
wait to
the
hold a
snack, but
cone, yeah.
or yeah, or pull the mom thing where you're feeding them out of your cone, right? Because that's just as moms what we do. So just be aware that you have to hold the cone because if you have one and your kiddo has one, you may need to plan accordingly for that.
Yes, just for some, forethought.
Yes, exactly.
And just like everywhere else, there's plenty of other locations in Epic. That was just our quick snapshot. There's basically every location has 1 to 2 food places and then some snack stands. So, open that app if you're not sure. If you're hangry and you're all the way back in, I don't know, the Mario section, and you don't feel like the Toadstool Cafe or there's a long wait. Just see. Oh, that's the other thing. Toadstool Cafe can have a long wait during popular times because it is so Instagrammable. There's a lot of people who are desperate to go in there to get that Instagram shot, myself
So true.
included. I'm not above it.
Yeah. And I've heard that of all of the kind of general theme parks under the umbrella in the Orlando area, that Epic really upped the game with food. So I think no matter where you go there, you're going to be happy. Again, we just pulled out 3 super kid-friendly options that are good for you. So I think you'll be happy with any choice there from what I've heard.
Agreed. You can't go wrong at Dust Steakhouse. Okay, so we are now leaving the parks and heading over to City Walk to talk about some of their food offerings. City Walk has about 1.5 billion options because it's essentially an entertainment district, right?
It's like Disney Springs,
Yeah.
but at Universal.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a smaller Disney Springs, and there's a lot, and I mean a lot of food options. So there are some pretty safe chains that are in there, right? If you have maybe picky eaters or you just need to get something really quick and you just don't even want to think about looking at a menu, they have places like a Burger King, they have a Moe's, they have Bubba Gump's, right? So like there are definitely some very familiar options, but the cool thing about them is that they also have a lot of independently run, interesting, unique restaurants that like can really thrive because of where they are in the Orlando area. They might not do as well, but here in this entertainment district where there's lots of people interested in trying new things, there's a good variety in there. So, one of the places that we really like is the NBC Grill. So that is a lunch and dinner spot. I'm gonna call it a family-friendly sports bar, which sounds kind of like if those two
Counterintuitive.
yeah, those words shouldn't be strung together, but think about it kinda like a Buffalo Wild Wings, right? It's not like
Mhm.
we've been there plenty. People are having a good time. There are some bars there, right? Of course it's, but there's giant TVs everywhere playing every sport that you could ever imagine. But every time we've been in there, there's been plenty of younger kiddos, families. I've seen babies in there, right? So like it's not like a strictly a bar when you think of like a sports bar atmosphere, you know what I mean? So there is a kids menu in here that would include sliders, a veggie pasta, the good old reliable chicken fingers, kettle grilled chicken, mac and cheese, and a cheese flatbread. Then we're heading over to probably every kid's favorite location to eat, to some chocolate emporium, which I swear they don't just serve chocolate. I know it sounds like they
I
should.
thought
but
that
they
until I did all
Yeah.
this research. I was
Yep.
like, chocolate emporium, chocolate, cool.
Yes. You would think that's all that they serve, but it's themed to be a chocolate factory,
Mhm.
so that's sort of where it comes in. Um, they serve plenty of chocolate though, so don't
Yeah.
worry. If you're really hankering, that's a great place to go.
And they do have a store in the front that sells all kinds of different chocolate and candy goodies. So
Yes. Yes, if you want to just do a drive-by real quick and you you don't want to get entangled in the chocolate-based menu, you can just in and out real quick. They are most famous for their over-the-top milkshakes, right? I think these were really popular circa like 2012, but they have really kept up the tradition and they are still very popular here. So if you think about like those really crazy creations, they have like a funfetti one that is a funfetti milkshake. So it's like vanilla ice cream with sprinkles and a whole slice of funfetti cake on top. So those yes. Oh yeah. If there's a key lime pie one that has
Oh
like
my
a slice of
gosh.
key lime on top, right? So like those crazy milkshake concoctions that were super popular a couple years ago. I say a couple years ago, it's like more than a decade ago.
Ugh.
I know. Anyway, I could feel myself crumble to dust. But yeah, so they have those like over the top milkshake creations are the most popular thing there, right? It's a big dessert place, but they do also offer food. They have a pretty varied menu actually. I was a little surprised. We have not eaten there. We have shopped there. But they have a kids menu, of course, so they have chicken fingers, mini burgers, um marinara garganelli. They have chicken with rice and waffle options, right?
Wait, I thought that was so interesting. I was like, they have a waffle all day long. It's just a waffle with, because I was like, oh, is it like chicken and waffles or something? Nope, it's just a waffle.
Yeah, just a waffle.
Yep.
Well, because they offer on the adult menu, they have like Belgian waffles, right? So like they have like waffles and fruit or waffles and 14 pounds of Hershey syrup, which sounds rad. You know what I mean? Like if you want a milkshake with a waffle in it, I'm sure they'll do it, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So-
gotta offer a kid's waffle if they
So-
offer a grown-up waffle.
It
So
feels-
true.
It feels like it would be a total miss if they didn't just throw the waffle on the menu. It's already there.
Right. Literally. Exactly.
So once you are sufficiently chocolated out, you can exit to some. Vivo Italian Kitchen is another really popular option. It's so popular, in fact, that this is probably one of the only, maybe one of two that I would recommend if you're there during a busy season. I would recommend seeing maybe if you make a reservation if you're there on like a Friday or a Saturday night, because it's Italian food. It's very familiar. It's very popular. So when there's a lot of people in the area, they're gonna want it. But also, like, it's just a good restaurant, right? It's very, very well loved in the area. So people go there locally from date night. You also have people coming in traveling. So just check that reservation. Might be a good idea for a Friday or Saturday. This is a lunch and dinner spot too. So they do have kids menu, of course, that would make sense because you can just classic chicken fingers or you can pizza, right? So very very safe options. So they do have chicken fingers, they have pizza, they have plain cheese pizza as well as a pepperoni pizza if your kiddo likes pepperoni. They have grilled chicken breast, they have a shrimp skewer, a meatball sandwich, and a fettuccine alfredo. Then we're moving to what is maybe my favorite named restaurant of all time, Cowfish. It's so fun. So this is a sushi and burger place, which is where
There's the
the
name.
yeah, right. It's where the cow and the fish come in. It sounds unhinged. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. That's a fusion that the first time I heard it, I was like, why? Right?
Yeah, it'd be good.
This menu caught me off guard for a minute when I was reading it, because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Mhm. You wouldn't Yep, you would not expect it, but it is actually one of our favorite places.
It's really good.
We really try to go there every trip. It's really good. So they do have a kids menu. So they have dragon bites, which is grilled chicken. They have ninja nuggets, which are chicken nuggets. They have gorilla cheese, which is grilled cheese. PB&J sushi roll, mac and cheese, but it's mac and cheese with a Z, so you know it's rad.
Super cool.
They have cowfish mini burgers, which are just, plain little, mini sliders. They have California roll, shrimp tempura rolls, as well as a vegetarian roll on the kids menu. So it seems a little odd, like I said, but they actually have a pretty good variety for a kids menu, and for I think a lot of kids, like a plain burger is a pretty safe bet. So if your family is interested in going, just make sure you check with your kiddo that they would be, good for, some chicken nuggets or something similar if they're not into trying sushi. But hey, listen, every time we go there, I see some kids house sushi, right?
Yeah.
So if you have an adventurous kiddo who likes sushi, this is a great spot because they have fantastic sushi.
That is just so fascinating to me. But now I kind of want to take my kids to make them try the sushi
Yes.
there, because I feel like they're more willing. Like if I try to bring sushi home, they're gonna want none of that. Absolutely none of that. But Andrew really likes sushi. So I'm like, well, this place might be a really good in between so that everybody can get a little bit of what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything that we've ever gotten there, from appetizers to dessert to drinks, really good. I really can't speak highly enough of Cowfish. We enjoy it every time we go there.
Nice.
Okay, so we're leaving our gorilla cheese and heading over to Big Fire, which it's like a pizza place. That's a lunch and dinner place. They offer, again, kids menu. So they have chicken fingers, the cheeseburger sliders, mac and cheese, chicken and beef skewers, as well as the grilled 4-ounce sirloin. So it's if your kiddo likes steak, but doesn't want to, maybe you don't want to spend the money for a 12-ounce New York strip, this is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I thought that was so fascinating because you very rarely see a kids menu steak. Like, it just doesn't happen that often. You see the mac and cheese and the burgers and that kind of stuff. But like to see a true, like a sirloin offered, it's like, huh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
surprising. Also, I call this a pizza place. This is not a pizza place. This is a steak place. So it's like the American Grill, I think, is what the official denomination is. I realized, I was like, that's not that's not right. I'm like, that's immediately wrong. But yeah, so we actually tried to get into this place once and they were not open. So they say that they're open for lunch and dinner, but double check the hours, because they are open for lunch and then they close and then they are open for dinner. It is not one that is open continuously through the afternoon. So
Yeah, and
check
that
those
may be
hours,
the
people.
case for some of these other ones, so just double check, especially the ones in City Walk. The ones inside the parks, you're gonna find more, longer hours, typically speaking. But also, like, some of those will close early if there's events or things like that. So just always double check those hours to make sure.
Yeah. Now, we have to give an honorable mention to Margaritaville, because I love Margaritaville. It is not explicitly for children. I would like to be clear. The place named Margaritaville, not thought of for children.
No.
But they do have a kids menu. We regularly see families bring in, older kiddos. So they play nonstop Jimmy Buffett. If that's your vibe, you're right, Victoria. Pour one out for Jimmy. Pour some salt out for Jimmy. And there's a little burping volcano every 20 minutes. So if your kiddo is down with a surprise burping volcano, because it always elicits lots and lots of giggles every time we're in there, then this may be a safe option for you to enjoy safely a little margarita. And they're actually pretty good seafood in there, I have to say. We go, not every trip, but we've been several times before, and it's pretty solid. So they also have an outdoor bar. So if you are just, maybe having a little date night, maybe there's someone else able to watch the kiddos, that's a good option for you.
Yes. Now, I will mention that if your kiddos are people who do not enjoy places like Rainforest Cafe or like the T-Rex restaurant at Disney Springs, maybe not Margaritaville. But if they love those places and they love that kind of chaotic atmosphere, that may be an okay choice for them.
Yeah, it may be overstimulating even for you as an adult, because again, I'm not kidding, it's just Jimmy Buffett blaring the whole time, which for some people may be a vibe. For other people's,
That's a vibe.
yeah. All right,
It's a vibe,
buffet.
but I can't take my kids there. So
totally
Understandable.
fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. But yeah, so we just, again, not like aimed at kids. That it is a margarita themed restaurant, but just throwing that out there as an option for folks who are interested in the burping volcano.
Okay. We do just want to mention also, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the episode, that each of the resorts does have their own dining locations. Again, we weren't touching on them today. We were just focusing on City Walk and the 3 parks. So much like Disney, the higher end resorts will have some of the fancier options. So we talked about there aren't a ton of table service restaurants in the parks. There are more outside of the parks than inside the parks. While the lower value tiers will have the more casual dining, like a food court style. So again, same thing that you see at Disney, you also see at Universal when it comes to all of that. And then I think just some other final thoughts that I had, and Doug and Jess, you can feel free to chime in as well. They have a lot of really similar options for kids at the Universal restaurants to what they have at Disney. But I also think that's just not universal as in the park, but universal everywhere, that those are just the kid menu options that you find, right? Some of these places are going to have a few different options, which is really nice. Some of them are only going to have the standard. So you always just kind of have to take a look at the menu. What we typically do for our kiddos, especially, is now, granted, our kiddos would be happy eating pizza and mac and cheese every night that we're at Disney or at the parks, right?
To be fair, me too.
Right. However, their stomachs would probably not appreciate that, as much. So I am a type A, shocker to no one who ever listens to Mom Street. So what I will do is I will look at the restaurant options and I will try to pick varying kids menus for the kids. So if one night we're going to do pizza, then the next night I want to try to pick a place that doesn't have pizza as their main offer. So that way the kids have some variety, especially if you've got kiddos that really truly like to eat a variety of different things. They're going to be the ones that want to try the sushi rolls. You want to make sure that you kind of think ahead with that. So I like to plan out restaurants because of that. So that way I'm not just last minute deciding to go somewhere and it's like, oh, they only have these two offerings and that's what you've had the last 2 nights. Sorry, kid. Like, I try not to do that to my kid the best that I can.
Look at you
So
being a responsible parent and varying their diet.
I try a little sometimes. Granted, I think my son ate pizza like 4 times on our last Disney trip because that's just what it was.
Right. Some of it is it's vacation. Just let them have it sometimes. But having variety is good.
Yes, exactly. So keep that in mind. Also, do keep in mind that though we suggest these places, oftentimes a lot of the quality at these places is still theme park food, with the exception of some of the City Walk locations, right? That's a little bit different. But generally speaking, you're not going to have the best meal in the world inside of an Orlando theme park, whether it be Universal or Disney. Now,
Yeah.
some of the offerings are, Michelin stars and top rated and all of that. So don't get me wrong, they do exist. But generally speaking, especially quick service locations, it's just going to be theme park food. And again, we talked about earlier at the very beginning, to circle it back, Universal is severely lacking on character dining. So my suggestion would be, if you want characters, grab an Uber and head over to a Disney resort and go, do a Cape May breakfast with Minnie and friends, or to go to Topolino's and grab some breakfast there, or a dinner. That would be your better option for characters.
Unless your kid really wants to meet Captain America.
Yes,
Which
which
is fair.
I'm not telling my oldest that they have that, because he would be like, and why haven't we gone? And I will be like, well, you see, we just haven't. Because Disney World doesn't have Captain America. I'm so sorry.
Because Mickey politely told me that he was a little more lonely than Captain America. Captain America has lots of friends. Mickey needs a few more friends to hang out with him. That's why.
Does he though? I don't think.
As far as your kiddos need to know, he does.
But
He's very lonely.
my 8-year-old is too smart. He would be like, "Nuh-uh, mom." So
Okay, well, kiddo, I want to hang out with you.
that's what it would really be. And then he would be like, "Okay." They know that by now. So yes, if you're looking for character dining, unfortunately, Universal is probably not going to have either the characters you're looking for and or the availability, because that character dining is so limited there. Duck and Jess, do you guys have any kind of final thoughts on Universal Foods?
I think utilize the app to check menus is my biggest recommendation. They make it very easy. It links right to it, right? The app is extremely easy to navigate. You just have your location. You can zoom in on it. You can filter on what you're looking for in terms of attractions, restaurants, restrooms, right? Like, I actually really like the Universal app. I think it's pretty well designed. That seems to be a hot take, but here we are. I think from like a UI perspective, it's very easy for you to see what you're looking for. And then you can click on the location and check their menu very, very easily. On those menus, they will also have more details on, is this vegetarian friendly? Is this vegan friendly? Is this spicy? Is this, right? Like, there's much more information on those little like menu keys that you see everywhere. Epic Universe, actually, when I was looking at it, has like a really clear key as to what everything is. They haven't updated the other menus. They are still the older ones, so it's a little less clear. It's still, if usually can scroll to the bottom and see what the key is, but it's a little less clear than Epic. So I have hopes that they will update the rest of their menus. Fingers crossed, but you never know. But yeah, so just double check on the app because you never know what you might be feeling. I don't plan my day necessarily around food, but I do like to know what my options are. And as somebody with various sensitivities, it is good to know, what is available and what I'm thinking around my park day. So utilize the app, double check those menus, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and I noticed too when I was looking at Epic Universe menus, even on the Universal website ahead of time, they had a lot more detail listed.
Yes.
So they had more of where they included like the menu descriptions, where some of the places for Studios and Islands of Adventure did not have that. They just had the title of the entree and that was it.
Yes.
So hopefully that's something that Universal is working on because I do know that that has been a frustration in the past that people weren't able to find enough information online to kind of help guide them for that. And the app, as far as the app goes, it does function very similarly to my Disney experience when it comes to the food aspect and like ordering food and things like that. So if you're familiar with that or you've done it over there, you should have no problem doing that at Universal.
If you are somebody, if the description isn't enough for you, if you're in the park, you can click the mobile order and go to that menu, and there's pictures 9 times out of 10, so you can get a better visual representation of like what exactly you're ordering. Again, it might not give you the full information that you need, but it's a little bit better than just like trying to fly blind on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Well, all of that being said, this now officially concludes this first Universal series that we did here on Mom Street. I hope that this has been helpful to our audience. I know that prior to them joining us on our hub episodes, we didn't have a ton of Universal experience. So it's really great to have that now on our team. So I really appreciate all you guys, your work and your input and your information that you provided. I sure learned a lot. So I have a feeling that our audience learned a lot about Universal too. And I think, ultimately the goal was to help you decide whether or not if you're already going to be down in the Orlando area, you're going to Disney for a few days, is it worth it to take a few days over at Universal for your particular group? I think we probably convinced a lot of people that yes, it's worth at least giving it a good look, right?
Hopefully.
Because they have a ton of options. And I think we talked, long and hard about this early on in this series that there's such a stigma around Universal being a teenagers and adults park and the older kids and the big thrill rides and stuff. But there's so much more that you can find at these parks. So definitely worth looking into. And as always, if you guys have additional questions or want additional information, please reach out to us. You can find us if email is your thing. We are momstreetusa@gmail.com. If you'd rather just send us a DM, you can find us at momstreetusa on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, those places. And if you're listening and you haven't subscribed or followed us, you should do that because we post lots of fun content and lots of clips and highlights of our previous episodes, maybe things that you have missed. So definitely be sure to do that for us so you don't miss out on any of the fun that we always have over here. It may be chaotic, but it's fun for sure. And all of that being said, speaking about not missing anything, next up we are continuing our hub episodes. We are hopping back over to the Stevie side of the hub for our next episode. So we'll see what she has for us on the next episode. But that is what is coming up next. But for now, thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next episode of Mom Street USA.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.